We shall overcome. Mm. We shall overcome someday. Oh, if in my heart I do believe. Ooh. All right, come on out there. We shall overcome some. Hey, how y'all doing? It's good to see y'all. Listen, I want to talk about this Tim Scott thing because I think it's important that we address it. Why? Because everybody talking about it. And since everybody talking about it, I figured I'd jump in. Now, I usually don't come on at this time of the day. Haven't done that in pre-COVID days. But I guess I'm going to have to come back and start doing my midday connection shows because the news keep a dropping and y'all keep a talking. And so anyway, I'll be back. Bass.
It's the show that will get you thinking. Topics are hot. Feel free to comment whether we agree or not, cause he's got something to say. Sirwalterj Jones. Sirwalterj Jones. He's got something to say. Sirwalterj Jones. Sirwalterj Jones Show.
Come on in. The water's fine.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Sirwalterj Jones Show. I'm here. It is midday connection. Baby. Come on in. Water's fine. How y'all is? Y'all all right? Carter and Keys and Littles and Sanders and Pitts. Rogers is here. Lisa is here. And John Gill. Jean Guile. I like the name anyway. Mm-hmm. Good to see you. Claricia Person. I like that name. Hey. Let's talk about Brother Scott and how he got pushed into this mess. Now, y'all. The Republicans knew what they was doing when they put him up there to do the address. They knew exactly what they were doing. Oh, they made toy of the man. President Biden, typical after 100 days when the new president get into the office, it is customary for the president to address Congress. It is not the official State of the Union, which is stated in the Constitution. No, it is an address to Congress to talk about his 100-day achievement and what I'm going to do after we leave this meeting. All right, during my administration. And then it is also customary that the losing party, the one who's not the president, the opposing party, do a rebuttal to the address. No rebuttal in American history has ever agreed that I've seen with the president. They'll come off saying, what a great speech. As a matter of fact, Tim even said, those were good words. And then, bam, he began to push the knife in the back of Biden. That's typical. Hey, listen, politics is hell. That's just the way it is. And, if you're going to join the game, you got to know how to play the game. But Tim was speaking nice words as well. And the words that he was speaking, good to see you, Avis. The words he was speaking was your typical, charismatic, conservative words that even I have used. He invoked his religious stands in there. Bold move. Good for you. I applaud you, Tim. But he said a phrase that lost many or most African Americans, and it took us back a few years, y'all. And he said, of course, that there is no racism in America, even though he premised it. He started off by talking about, or he mentioned it on a side note, the original sin. That only means one thing in America when you hear about the original sin. He was bold enough to mention that. Actually, we should applaud that statement from a Republican, but it had to be a black man to say that. All right. So when he said it, good. But what he said next erased everything that he said leading up to it. That America is no longer racist. When he said that, a gasp came over me, and I knew that all of the Tonight Shows, all of the pundits, all of the newspapers, and everybody out there will go and chase after that topic. And did they? Absolutely they did. Those in his party applauded him. Those on Fox News applauded him. Those on conservative media, they applauded. They loved it, blah, 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 because they actually agree with it. So I want to talk about this issue of the Tim Scott effect. Can you be a racist and you don't know it? I'm not saying that Tim Scott is a racist. Actually, to be an African American in America, you can't by definition be a racist. All right, because of what the word means. I know white folks says that we can be racist, but you cannot. Not in America. You can possibly be a racist in another country somewhere, or you could be maybe a racist I don't even know where in America you could do this, where you have a prominence of an affluent and elite African Americans in a town. And you have the whole government system is set around them, and they have the power over whites. All right, then yeah, that could be a racist system. But unfortunately, if it's in America, that's difficult. All right, so you can't, as an African American, by definition. Now this always tend to have white folks fight, and some black people fight over that too when they're on the other side. That surely you can't be racist. Well, unfortunately, you don't know how to define words, do you? You don't, do you? Yeah, so yeah, that's what he said, Carolyn. America is not a racist nation. Thank you, Brentic. You have to be in power to be a racist. Unfortunately, my white brothers and sisters can't see that. They fight with us over this because they can't. It's hard for them to understand. It's like those Jews in the Bible we read. All right, and sometimes it's hard to speak on these things because then you'd be called an anti-Semite. But when I'm just going, even when you're reading what the scripture is saying, you can read it, but you just can't agree with it. Well, I agree with the scriptures, and Jesus had to deal with his own brothers as it pertains to their xenophobic way, how they discriminated against others who were not like them. Do you understand? Every Jewish personality that I saw in the scriptures seemed to have been a xenophobe. Now, they could not be racist because they didn't have, during the time of the New Testament, during the time of the four Gospels, they did not have the power. The Roman Empire had the power over them. The Grecians had the power over them, so they could not be racist. The Jews could not be racist. But they were quite xenophobic, and they discriminated. All right, against those who were not Jewish. And God had to deal with them accordingly. The disciples were a little upset about that Jesus had to die for these ingrates, these Gentiles. Why would you do that? You are a king, and you came here to overtake this kingdom here and set up your kingdom. How dare you? Pretty much. And God had to deal with them individually, especially Peter. And after Jesus died and rose, then God the Father had to deal with Peter by bringing and introducing him a sheet of meat and told him to rise, Peter, slay and eat this. And he said, I can't eat that. It's unclean. God was trying to show him that I got to clean this mess out of you. This bias, this xenophobe, this discrimination, this hatred out of you so that you could win others for the kingdom. You don't want them in the kingdom with you? Well, I can't have no dealings with you either. So he said, rise, Peter, and slay, because God was trying to prepare Peter to go speak to who? A Gentile by the name of Cornelius. He had to clean him up. Jonah was the same way. Jonah would not go to Nineveh and have them to repent because they were not like Jonah. So what did he do? He escaped to Joppa, and God had to put him in a fishy situation. Why? And I believe we who are American Christians, believers, whatever you want to call yourself, we are the same way. The 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock hour on Sunday is the most hypocritical, most racist hour of the week. We got black churches and we got white churches. How could you be reading the same Bible, believing the same thing, yet you can't worship together? It's sad. I'm a part of an 8 million member church denomination called the Church of God in Christ. We have 102 churches. We in 102 nations around the world. 100 around the world. All right, and we're in every state in the country. We're everywhere. 8 million strong. But when you go to the national convocation, you can count the white folks. And when you see them, you get excited. When you go to the Southern Baptist conferences, all right, where it mostly the Bob Jones and the Thomas Road Baptist Church, what's his name? All right, when you go to those Baptist conventions, you see mostly white. Why? What's going on? Shane Perry, I don't know who Shane Perry is, but if you can name him, well, that means something. Yeah, Fred Price caught flack because of that statement many years ago. Margaret, which statement did he say, Margaret? What statement was that? Ava says 1% Caucasian. 1%. Yeah, thank Jerry Falwell. Thank you. I'm trying to say I only know when I don't know, I can't remember his name. I talk about his church name. I am from the same state, and Tim Scott, and we are quite baffled by him. However, there are those who knew him prior, and they say he will not do anything to disrupt his power and position. Hey, I know, Spiritual Java. It's good to see you, by the way. I agree with you. People nowadays are trying to separate the word from the meaning. Yep. Taking a shoe from Cortez, that was pretty good. Tim Scott, being a black man and a Republican is not a big problem. I was a Republican for many years. When did I join when I moved to South Dakota, I decided to join the Republican Party. You know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because I was around them. I lived with them. And it's like when in Rome, you do what the Romans do. When you move into certain areas, you then you become acquainted and you assimilate, I believe the word, with the area in which and where you live and thrive, and your children begin to do the same thing. When you put a child into a predominantly white school, that child will begin to lose his or her native tongue or dialect. And then what we do, if you I need water. Excuse me. If you hear a child speak in good English, y'all say he's speaking proper or white. But he is around white kids for years, grow up around them, and then you hear them talking like this. You know, I wanted to say this. You know, when we always talk about a white person, we like to raise our voices like this, like Eddie Murphy did on SNL, okay? They begin to talk like that because that's who they're around. So when I moved to South Dakota, as y'all know, it's a hardcore Republican state. And everybody at my church was Republican. Everybody at the social club was Republican. Everybody at the library was Republican. Everybody around me was Republican. And the news, you had to watch Fox News in South Dakota. That's the way it was. Even to the point where not only did I become Republican, I voted for Mike Huckabee when Barack Obama was running. I became a part of that. Ava says she heard that all your life, huh? Yeah. being a Republican in ND and being a black Republican in the South are two very, Brenton, I hear you, man. Assimilation. It can be both positive and negative, especially if there's no counter for it. Yeah, there you go. No balance. So I consider myself having a lot of balance when I live in South Dakota. There are things I heard on Fox News and among my Republican and conservative friends that I did not like. I heard them say things about my people that I did not like. And they changed up when they were in my presence. They just changed. And then when they were among their own people, they would say derogatory things. They would say things that were typical, stereotypical towards my people. And their friends would tell me, because their friends were my friends, and they would say, you know what Bob said about y'all? You know what Bob said about, I'm sorry, Walt, I couldn't hang around him. I said, you know what? I'm not that stupid. I'm not that foolish to not know that these people around me, they'll celebrate me because they like the way I talked, or they like the way I play the piano and sing. And I was very, gifted in that area. I showed all my talents and gifts and all that. All right. So they liked me until they are not in my presence. And then I see your true colors shining through. So Tim Scott being a Republican, man, no problem. I had no problem with that. I was a Republican too. But stand up for your people, like some of these cops who are good cops, and then there's the bad cops. If the good cops that was there who pulled over George Floyd, if there were good cops among them and they were not scared and yellow back, okay, they could have stopped this officer from putting his knee and choking out the life. But these cops assimilated themselves in the system, and they became a part of the blue wall. So what happened to them? Well, there's their mugshots of them with the jail uniform on. Why? Because there was no balance. If they were good cops, they would have told their brother, hey, man, I take your knee off. That's not the way we were trained. And if we were trained that way, you're about to take this man's life, remove your knee. Now, let's find another way to handle this. They didn't do it. I see Christians do the same way. We who are a part of the denominations, we do the same thing. So Tim Scott is no different. He's among them. And he talked like them. I get it. But when he said that about America not being racist, that's when you knew that he was willing to dig so deep into the buttholes of that party that he knew, number one, that he would have shelter and safety. They was going to protect him. Number two, could he have said that but not believed it? Because surely Tim Scott, if he go into certain areas, now everybody don't know who he is. Now he's very popular in America, yes. You'd be surprised how many little dark areas of America who still don't know who very popular politicians are. And I can guarantee you Tim Scott would walk into certain areas. He's my age. The man was born, a year before me. I can guarantee you he has experienced racism. And I can't talk about that. I can guarantee you that. I can guarantee you he see it in his own party. But either he is trying to protect the power, who someone said earlier, or he's just that dumb. See, Carolyn Lane says, I never heard of him. You see what I'm saying? Proof. Thank you, Carolyn, for saying that. She never heard of him. There are many who never heard of Tim Scott. But after what happened this week, many who never heard of him now know who he is. How can there be a no racism in America? And then he pointed out that he has been racially profiled. You see what I'm saying? The Republicans bringing forth the Tim Scott effect was a calculated radical move by the machine to counter the reality of the black experience by whitewashing it with those fortune, enough to have slipped under the restrictive barriers. There you go. He should seek out an evaluation of his Stockholm syndrome. I'm trying to tell you, and it is the Candace Owens effect as well. I've done the Candace Owens effect, and she's the same thing. I don't know who's worse, Candace or Tim. I don't know who's worse, but that Stockholm syndrome is something to see. It's almost like a borderline mental dysfunction, where someone could look in the mirror and see the darkness of their complexity and walk outside all week long and see what's happening to the same people and persons who got the same dark complexity, and then come home and say, hey, I don't see nothing. And again, I know too many people who are part of the Christianity race who act the same way. So let's talk about it, y'all. That's why I'm here. Timothy Eugene Scott, born September 19, 1965, an American politician and businessman serving the junior, as he's a junior United States Senator from South Carolina. Been serving since 2013. A Republican, Scott was appointed to the U.S. Senator's office by, Nikki Haley. That's right. Y'all remember Nikki Haley? You got to remember Nikki. Oh, Nikki, anyway, he retained his seat after winning a special election in 2014. That was a rough year for me. And was elected to a full term in 2016. All right. That's who Tim Scott is. All right. And so I posted on Facebook a question. All right. A question. And I want to share it with you all here. What are you saying here? Mark says Price called out the Assembly of God, which came, yes, and its white denomination as culture grew. They didn't want to worship with blacks, so they formed their own. Yes, Margaret Price was correct. Assemblies of God did come out of Kojic, and in 2015, maybe, I went to, I believe it was 2015, I attended the convocation in St. Louis. It was a Saturday night, I believe it was. Friday night, Saturday night, and the leader of the Assemblies of God addressed the House, and he made a public apology to confirm what Fred Price said. This white man stood over this all-black audience and said, we are sorry for how we treated our black brothers and sisters. And man, I tell you, there was some tears flowing in that house, and I was there with him. He said he experienced himself, and they don't even shake his hands. Mitch McConnell started pushing him. You see what I'm saying? How can he have said that in the same sentence, saying that there's no racism, and yet he experienced it? Was he talking about when he was a little boy? Nikki pointed at him. Yeah, all my questions up. Bianca. That's good. He needs to be taken to the altar and be delivered from the sunken place. I would say that Tim is worse than Candace because of his status. Yes, I agree with you, Cortez Little. Thank you for bringing that out. That's a great point there. Great point. So right here on Facebook, I did ask the question, riddle me this, can you be a racist but don't know it? Okay. Most of you said yes. Yes. Dean says yes. Deatrice gave a great definition on racism and the form of bias. Okay. Tamika says yes. Marcy says, I don't know. I love the honesty. Okay. Most of you said yes, yes, yes. Ben, my Caucasian brother here, he says, I would say yes. I think we all have our own biases, which are sometimes hard to see. He is correct. Okay. All right. So as we keep going here, then David Weaver. Look at this. David Weaver. Here's what he says. Short answer. Now, David, I don't know if you're here or not. I don't know if you're here. Okay. What are you saying here? If you choose to act, no, he's saying absolutely not. You cannot be a racist and not know it. He says if you choose to act or be racist, it's because you fail to possess the willpower to make the right decisions. I believe it is a generational issue, whether taught by parents or other roles, or just a failure of parenting, teaching a child how to think for themselves and not strive, that is, for social acceptance. Sagging your pants because you think it makes you look cool or you are trying to fit in. It's your choice to put on a costume for the acceptance. Okay. All right. And he goes on. All right. So let's talk about that, what David Weaver says. All right. Because the professionals disagree with him wholeheartly. They need an intervention. Unfortunately, the only ones qualified to execute the treatment would be alt-right to kick. Right. That's funny. You can be influenced as a child by the environment you grew up in, but there comes a time when maturity and that's good, Elliot. That's good. David, you here? Okay, good, because we had to read what you had to say. Amber says, I say no. Racism is systematic, and you have to have the power. Racism is about systematic power. Racial bias and prejudice is something totally different. Okay? All right. So let's talk about this. I'm gonna go to the professionals because I don't like to give answers that seem so opinionated. I like to check the professionals. That was one reason why they went to school, so that they could give us answers. All right. Seiko Woods asked the question, do you agree with Tim Scott's statement? Oh, well, I'm addressing that right now. Seiko, I don't know if you're here or not. Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the different types of racism. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Oh, that's my barber. Hold on. Mr. Barber Man? Yes, sir. You there? Okay, I'm ending my Facebook Live. All right. Okay. Thanks, bro. Bye. Yeah, that's my barber. I answer the phone for him because I need a job. Okay. Not a barber job, but I need a hair job. Good to see you, Eleanor. Don't accept what? Don't accept it till it hits your front. Oh, Deborah, yeah. Okay, all right. Y'all know I answer the phone for only 3 people. My son, my daughter, and my barber. Sorry. Anybody else may have to wait. Okay, so here's this is from the what is this site? Oh, the Alberta Civil Liberties Research Center. Okay. And they have some words here to try to figure out your form of racism. Is it individual racism or is it systematic racism? Some of the quotes that people would say is, it was just a personal opinion. I was just doing my job and following procedure. Anyone can apply for that job. Or anyone could play hockey or take music lessons in this city. All right. Racism occurs between individuals on an interpersonal level and is embedded in organizations and institutions through their policies. Very important. Through their policies and through their procedures and through their practices. It may seem easier to recognize this individual or interpersonal acts of racism. A slur made, calling us the N-word. When the Hispanics were here in Chicago, we should call them Chicanos, wetbacks. Okay? A person ignored in a social or work setting. An act of violence, however, individual racism is not created in a vacuum, but instead emerges from a society's foundational beliefs and ways of seeing or doing things, and is manifested in the organization. If I'm a racist, I start a company, and my company thrive. I begin to pass down my racist stands and the spirit behind it to others who are in upper echelon in the company. Okay, other managerial personalities and what have you, even down to the the human research department. Okay, I'm hiring people like me, and now I got all these people who are working up under them. And before you know it, the organization is systematically, racism is threaded, sewed into the fabric of my corporation. Even the institutions, Bob Jones Institution and Falwell's institution, the college or the university, Liberty University, and places like that was considered racist institutions. All right. Yale University and its competition. What's the other one? Okay, Harvard. They were considered racist institutions. All right, even the systems are racist in where you live, the government. But that is not to say that individuals cannot be anti-racist within and despite systems and institutions that are systematically racist. So individual racism refers to an individual racist assumption. Those are quite easy. Their beliefs, their behaviors. And it's a form of racism or racial discrimination that stems from conscious and unconscious personal prejudice. Conscious and unconscious. Can you be a racist and not know it? Most of you said yes. You can be a racist but not know it because you came up in a system that you felt was normal or what should be. This is healthy for all of us. But that person says, I got good friends that are black, but they can't never marry my daughter, or they can't, their kids can't go to our school, what have you, because that's just the way the system should be. There are people who actually believe this. They've always believed this in America, because especially during Jim Crow, there are many whites who felt like God has ordained this to be so, that we should be separate and not equal. Individual racism is connected to or learned from broader social economic histories and possesses processes and is supported and reinforced by this systematic racism. So individual racism is very easy. I wouldn't say very, but it's quite easy. Quite easy to determine who is a racist in your area. Deborah, say you're in your in and out. Deborah, that head job didn't make it any boy. That printer, something wrong with him. What are your thoughts on CTR, critical race theory? I don't know. I have to study it. I don't know. So let's talk about systematic racism. All right, systematic racism includes the policies and practices entrenched in institutions, which result in the exclusion or the promotion of designated groups. It differs from overt discrimination in that no individual intent is even necessary. The intent is not necessary. It manifests itself in two ways: institutional and then structural. So the institutional derives from individuals carrying out the dictates of others who are prejudiced. Like I said earlier in my examination, I'm a prejudiced man. I'm a racist man. I started the company and I have instructed others. Don't sell a house to these people. In walk redlining. Okay. Now, structural racism is inequalities rooted in the system-wide operation of a society that excludes substantial numbers of members of particular groups from significant participations in major social institutions. That's the whole structure. And sometimes we can get those two mixed up, institutional and the structure mixed up. And I've seen them both work in tandem, hand to hand together. They're one big ball of fire. Now, some forms of systematic racism may be more explicit or easier for some to identify the Indian residential school system in Canada they had. When they look at World War II, when the president had all those Japanese and put them in these shipped them out of the country and put them where'd they put them? In these little camps where reservations are because we were at war with the Japanese. The Japanese had just bombed Pearl Harbor. And Roosevelt says, get these Japanese Americans out of here. What was that? Jim Crow laws was a type of systematic racism. It probably one of some of the best examples of it. Okay, the American Indian boarding schools, the exclusion of African American golfers from elite private golf courses. That's in your face. All right, these things can be easily sought out. But today I want to talk about what's called implicit bias. And what is that? Implicit bias. Critical race is an academic movement made up of civil rights scholars and activists in the United States who seek to critically examine the laws as it intersects with the issue of race and to challenge mainstream liberal approaches to racial. Okay. All right, I see. That's a big one. I like to study that a little bit more before I give an answer on that one. Because when you get some civil rights scholars involved in a lot of this stuff, your antennas need to go up. Example of medical racism, some Caucasians medical staff truly believe that African Americans have a higher tolerance for pain. Wow. That is racist. They should know better, but they still believe it. They may not be intentionally be trying to harm black patients, but it's an ingrained belief that has been exposed. Wow. Now, the actress Carter been working in the hospitals for many years. From 42 through 45, Japanese internment camps, yes, were established, yes, Roosevelt. So we see a lot of that going on in American history. All right. So what is implicit bias, and can you have an implicit bias? And is that a type of answer to my question of can you be a racist and not know that you are? What is it? Thoughts and feelings are implicit if we are unaware of them or mistaken about their nature. We have a bias when, rather than being neutral, we have a preference for or aversion to a person or group of people. Thus, we use the term implicit bias to describe when we have attitudes towards people or associate stereotypes with them without our conscious knowledge. A fairly commonplace example of this is seen in studies that show that white people will frequently associate criminality with black people without even realizing that they're doing this. And they have a lot of help doing that, because when they watch only conservative media push the criminality of African Americans and the struggle and the poverty in their faces, and they report crimes. And if there's a march, or protests, certain key words pop off in the white man's head, and these are whistles that triggers the anchor or association. You tie a word to something else, that is association. For instance, if I threw this straw over there, I did this before. I did this as a test for one of my children. I think it was my son. And I said, hey, go fetch that straw for me, please. And my son says, you calling me a dog? Pops, you calling me a dog? I'm like, I'm not calling you a dog. I just want you to fetch straw. He said, Dad, dogs fetch. I says, you associated fetch with a dog because society have anchored those two words together. But can y'all tell me what fetch means? because there's some words that I can't use here that did not have the same association that we have made it today, especially in the homosexual community. That word F that's usually associated with homosexuals, that word or origins, it was anchored to cigarettes. Even the word gay is now has been associated with homosexuals, but when I was coming up, we all were gay. You understand? They stole the rainbow. You can't wear rainbow colors because if I wear a rainbow colored shirt, then the people would say that's a gay man. That's right. So fetch means to retrieve. And so this, some of this is not, I can't blame everybody who have an implicit bias. You can't fully blame everybody for that because they come up under a system which they mentally believe is normal or natural, like a woman who, the shows I do on abuse, there are some women who wanted me to beat them when I was dating them, okay, because the association was he don't love me because he's never raised his hand to hit me. Can I blame her for wanting me to hit her? I had to go into my clinical studies to say, whoa, babe, there's a problem here. You want me to hit you and then have sex with you and strangulate you and things like that. That is a dangerous thing that you're going through, that you want me to do for you or with you. You come up in an ancestral, dangerous, abusive situation, or you saw it in your mom's home with her, and you anchored that as being normality. You got to clean that out of your system. Blessings, Banks. Thank you for that super chat. Yeah, you can't even preach on the flood. Right. Yeah, Sherry Hicks. Yeah. Assume women of color have attitudes. Deborah, that's good. T-Vox, always good to see you. Not just white foreigners, also many despise black folks, and this has definitely been. Oh yeah, Nurse Virgie, it's always good to see you as well. A little spanking is okay, but not Nurse. Nurse, when you come around, I like it. All right, Beatrice, I know you at work. I don't usually do the midday connection. Okay, so that's what's happening there with the implicit bias there. A lot of times you don't know. So then let's bring up Tim Scott and how Tim Scott was handled on my Facebook wall with my white friends. My white friends came to Tim Scott rescue. And they don't come over to rescue anybody else black other than Candace. Can y'all tell me why? If I say anything negative about Candace Owens or Tim Scott on my wall, my white friends who rarely ever come and visit my wall for anything, they show up. Can y'all tell me why? Not all my white friends. I got a couple who's watching right here who's my dear friends who's with me all the time. But I got a lot of white Facebook friends. A lot of them. Y'all understand, I've lived in South Dakota. I brought them white friends with me when I moved back to Chicago. I taught their children. And now their children are grown and their children are my Facebook friends. You see some of them, Dan Bickett and Step, just several of them, okay? You see them on my wall fighting with me. Those are my former students from high school, all right? So I brought a lot of them over. But they only come and defend these two people. Can y'all tell me why? Tim and Candace think like them, Pitt says. They think like them. So they come to their rescue because she talks their talk. Yes, those two black people say what white people want to hear. Now, my question to you is, are these white Facebook friends of mine racists? Or do they have implicit bias? Love you too, nurse. Thank you for hanging out. Defending their own. Yes. Because Tim Scott and Candace Owens of the world allows them to justify their beliefs. Because in your white friends' eyes, they are the same. They are the blank faces of their systematic teachings and their modus operandus. They look past the black and elevate them as poster children who should, yes, and it allows them to rest freely from, yes. That's good. They feel comfortable because they got somebody of our complexity saying things that they want to say, but they can't because of the pushback when they say it. So they love Candace Owens. They love her draws. Because she says things that they have always felt in their hearts about black people. And so it's justified when one of our own say these things. Well, she's not really one of ours. Because you're black don't mean you're one of ours. That's a thin line right there. The Bible says just because people think because they were born in Abraham's family, they think that they're Jews. Yeah, that's something else. Jesus even said that you are of your father, the devil. Even though I created you, your father is the devil. So they're not ours because their skin is black. Just not. So when my white friends come on my wall, there's a caricature that I put of Tim Scott looking like the Fat Albert character, Mushmouth, I think that's Mushmouth, okay? And several of my white friends and my black friends who are Republican sympathizers, they came over and they went off on me. How dare you, preacher man? It's shame on you being a mind of God and blah, blah, blah. And I had to remind them that black people, we like to make fun of each other. It's all in fun. Y'all never came over to the wall when I was making fun of other black men and women who were not Republican. I make more fun of myself than I do everybody else. How many pictures and videos and weird looks do I put up of me? Huh? How many of y'all seen the many times I made fun of me on the wall? Till some of my friends were like, "Ooh, Walter, I wouldn't have done that." This is me I'm making fun of. That's the way black people do with each other. We all preachers do that with each other. We make fun. We do your mama jokes, all kinds of stuff. That don't make us less than a preacher. We all do that. Amber said, too many. I always make fun of myself. None of my white friends came over to my defense. None. Gregory said I put up a picture that looked like you. Come on. They never come over to the defense of these other black people that I make fun of. None. Ever. Barack Obama, for 8 years, they put up pictures of him looking like a monkey. All kind of caricatures and cartoons and depictions of him looking like Hitler and all that. And none of my white friends went to his defense. None. But when we made fun of Tim Scott on the wall, my white friends came over and said, "Oh, look at y'all eating your own again." What is that? That makes us feel that you are a racist. Because you keep coming around only when it benefits you and when the subject matter is about color. Then you come over. I have a friend on here who I put up a post about Candace Owens. I said, Candace, what black man hurt Candace Owens? Can y'all find him? I need to talk to him. And everybody said, ha ha, they laughed. And one guy who's not an African American came over and said, oh, there's nothing wrong. I love her. And I finally had to say, brother, this is why people call you a racist. Because you keep giving them material. You didn't have to say nothing. Nothing. Just let that post alone and hang over there with the people who are more you sympathize with. Hang over there. And don't worry, the show will be over. Before you know it, we'll be talking about other stuff. Religion and finance. We well rounded here on the Sirwalterj Jones Show. But whenever you come over and you sympathize with stuff like that, you're showing people who you are. So it's easy to say, I'm not a racist. When you spend 20% of your life trying to convince people that you're not a racist, guess what, y'all? Fox News eats their own all the time. Republicans versus Democrats. Yes. All the time. So why does implicit bias matter? The mind sciences have found that most of our actions occur without our conscious thoughts, allowing us to function in our extraordinary complex world. This means, however, that our implicit bias often predicts how well behave more accurately than our conscious values. How we'll behave, that is. Multiple studies have also found that those with higher implicit bias levels against black people are more likely to categorize non-weapons as weapons, such as a phone for a gun or a comb for a knife. And in computer simulations are more likely to shoot an unarmed person. Similarly, white physicians who implicitly associate black patients with being less cooperative were less likely to refer black patients with acute coronary symptoms for thrombolysis for specific medical care. Thrombolysis, is that the word? I just saw that word the other day when it comes to this vaccine situation. I just saw that word. So what can be done about it? Social scientists are in the early stages of determining how to bias. How to bias. It is clear that media and culture makes having a role to play by ceasing to perpetuate stereotypes. We see a lot of that in our culture and in media. And I'm sorry, y'all. The LGBT community is more stronger, more intelligent, more powerful than everybody else because they get things done, get things changed, get things, even the Asian community. You see how quick it took them to institute this anti-Asian sentimental bill thingy to protect them. You see how quick it was? How long did it take African Americans to get a civil rights bill? How long did it take for LGBTQ to get their rights to marry? How long did it take? Not long at all, did it? America's something. Your friends are a combination. They have no point of reference to persuade their embedded thought process. Tim and Candace play into their belief. Ooh, pits to the pits. They are starting to feel the backlash of society that is slowly but surely turning on them. Yep. This is causing them, distress. Ooh, I like that. I like that. A lot of that we've done to ourselves. If a person being held hostage under the diagnosis of Stockholm Syndrome commits a murder, did the murder still take place? Are they still murderers? It's the same as a so-called good person being held hostage by his racially systematic norms. The underlying reasons for his actions may be unknown to him, but he is still a murderer, a racist. Now that's a strong accusation there, Miss A.R. Strong. Y'all agree with her? They still have sense of superiority and will fall for anything to make them look better when it makes them look foolish and unstable. They need to really be honest with themselves. Sherry Hicks, good to see you. Still nothing for us or the cops. Yep, that shoot first. Yep. Emerson, I said what I said. Okay. That's funny. All right, so right here, let's end this ball game. Okay, here are the types of these terms that are synonymous. Or racial prejudice is the term here. Very important. During Jim Crow, white men were charged not with racism when they hung a man on a tree or shot a man cold-blooded. They could not charge them with racial crimes. Why? Because it's not that easy to define racialism or racism. It's not that easy to define and put it into the books, legal books, and charge a person with it. So notice when you're watching these 1960s, 1950s, 60s civil rights documentaries, what have you, and you saw a white man be charged with something. They wasn't charged with a race crime. They were charged with violating what? Can y'all tell me? They were charged with violating what? When they killed Emmett Till, these white men were charged with violating what? Thank you, Harvard Crawford. Not racism. They were charged with violation of civil rights. Makes no sense, do it? Makes no sense, do it? There is no racial law, racism law. There are only what they call hate crimes. Now it's a hate crime. Back then it was a violation of civil rights. Why? How do you define? How do you put racism as a crime in the books? So you got xenophobia, you got chauvinism, you got bigotry. Now, bigotry is a state of mind where a person strongly, abstinently, irrationally, unfairly, intolerantly dislikes other people or opinions that differ from one's own. And some examples include personal beliefs, race, religion, national origin, gender, disabilities, socioeconomic status, group characteristics, on and on. That's bigotry. Archie Bunker was a bigot. He was a racist, but he was more so a bigot. Yeah, casteism, okay, which is determined by your birth. Loosely, it means that in some societies, if your parents are poor, you are going to be poor. And then we know discrimination, action that denies social participation or human rights to categorize of people based on prejudice. This includes treatment of an individual or group based on their actual or perceived membership in a certain group or a social category. In a way, there's more to that. In a way that is worse than the way people are usually treated. Do you understand? You have to say that. So housing discrimination. You understand? So the Bible says that there's going to be a lot of that going on in the last days. Matthew 24:7. Nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, that is. Ethnos against ethnos, and basilia against basilia. Y'all understand. As previously noted, racism is embedded within the Constitution. Yep, I don't care who? Title 7 says. Yeah. Oh, racism is straight up in that Constitution. Oh, it's there. All men are created equal is a bald-faced lie from the lips of those very ones who wrote it, Mr. Thomas Jefferson. Abraham Lincoln. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, all that stuff. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That's interesting. Thank you, Clock Keeper. I have a video I want to play to show y'all how a lot of this starts. I hope YouTube don't snatch it because it's not mine. It's from a movie called American History X. Some of you remember seeing it. I thought it was probably, one of the most brilliant scenes in movies today. Y'all know the cast. What's the cast? Let me pull up the cast. Ed Norton. Who else y'all know? Stacy Keach. Beverly D'Angelo. Avery Brooks. Yeah, these people here. Elliot Gould. Guy Torrey. Yeah. It's a great movie on racism and how it started. All right. The scene that I'm going to play here, let me set you up, is telling you the backstory of how did this kid, the young brother, become a racist. He became an Aryan, a slickhead, or whatever you call them, going around hating black people and Jews. And how did this kid become this racist? Where did it come from? And hear where it come from.
It's hard to look back and see the truth about people you love. I think if you asked Derek why it all went the way it did and where it all started, he'd still say it started when our father was murdered. The truth is, it started earlier.
All right. Are we all meeting together for the game tonight?
Yes, definitely.
All right, Ben's Burger is 7 o'clock, then we go watch the Big Guy play.
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah.
You psyching up for the game?
Oh yeah, I'm always ready for that. I got an English exam, 3rd period. I'm having a heart attack. I'm not ready.
What's the matter, Fred? You gonna get a B? Might do you good. B minus.
Hey, don't laugh. I'm telling you, this guy is different. Dr. Sweeney, this guy's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I've never had a teacher like this. He's got like 2 PhDs. I don't know what he's doing teaching in our school. He's not like other teachers.
What's he got you reading?
We got this essay exam on this book, Native Son. All in this one book.
Native Son, what's that? I don't know that.
Well, that's a big surprise.
What, I read?
Honey, they don't teach Tom Clancy in school. Well, they don't.
So what is it? What is this Native Son? What is it?
Nothing. It's like this book about this black guy, you know? We're doing this whole black literature, you know?
What is it, Black History Month?
No, it's just like this guy Sweeney, you know? It's part of the course now.
Yeah.
What?
Nothing, it's just, it's everywhere I look now.
What?
This affirmative blaction.
Honey, a few new books doesn't qualify as affirmative black action.
Hey, read the book, ace the guy's test. Just don't swallow everything he feeds you whole. Just because you see it on the evening news.
No, but like what?
All this stuff about making everything equal, it's not that simple. Look, now you got this book, Native Son. What happened to the other books in the course? They're not any good anymore because Mr. 2 PhD says they aren't? Huh? I mean, you gotta trade in great books for black books? Does that make sense? Huh? You gotta question these things, Dare. You gotta look at the whole picture. You know, we're talking about books here, but I'm also talking about my job. I got 2 black guys on my squad now who got their job over a couple of white guys who actually scored higher in the test. Does that make sense? Huh? Yeah, sure, everything's equal now, but I got 2 guys watching my back, responsible for my life, who aren't as good as 2 other guys. You only got the job because they were black, not because they were the best.
That sucks.
Yeah. Is that what America's about? No, America's about best man for the job. You do your best, you get the job. You know, this affirmative action crap. I don't know what that's about. There's like some hidden agenda or something going on. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I don't know, I didn't think about it like that.
Well,
This guy, though, I don't know, Dr. Sweeney, he comes on like so strong. It's kind of hard not to listen to him, but I don't know, maybe some of what he says is kind of,
it's bullshit.
yeah. Yeah, maybe.
No, no. It's nigger bullshit. You see that, don't you?
Yeah.
You gotta watch out for that.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, I will.
Good boy. Proud of you.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Got it.
You notice the little boy, the little brother, is listening to that conversation. He never thought about that before. But it was at the breakfast table. Now the video on YouTube calls it dinner, but that was breakfast. And he's soaking that in, soaking it in, soaking it in. When the movie starts, you already see the hatred. And towards the middle of the movie, they give the backstory. Why are these people so angry and so, it's a great movie. You got to go see it. Now, Tawana says they will give you a copyright strike. No, they won't. When you play stuff like this, they won't strike it. What they'll do is whatever monies that I make on the monetizing, they'll give it over to the owners of that. They don't strike like that anymore. They usually just silence the video, or they may just pull the video down altogether, your whole video. It's like, all right, it ain't there no more. All right, they can't do that. They can't. So if y'all don't see this video tomorrow, it's gone. At least y'all got this information. But my channel won't get a strike. No, they will just they'll get them folk my money. That's what they've been doing for the past year now. You remember that movie, especially the cop scene at yeah, man, yeah, it's something. So let me say this though. The father was right at the beginning of his statement. Yeah, for educating purposes, yeah, it is. But YouTube could care less about what you say in the video. You can try and they give you an opportunity to defend it. They ain't trying to hear that. Unless I was a news organization. If I was a news organization, they would leave it alone. That's the bias. The father was right. The best man for the job should get the job. I agree with him on that. Affirmative action is actually a broke system. You know why it's broke? Because too many white people benefited from affirmative action. Y'all remember the lawsuit that came, the very popular lawsuit that happened with this young white girl who was in college, who were complaining about, and I did that show and I got to find out who she was. Affirmative action helped her. And many whites. It's flawed. It's flawed. So the father was right. I'm still about The best man wins. If you qualified for the job, give it to the guy. Don't just give it to a black man because he's black. I don't believe that. I'm sorry. For the first time, we have a vice president who was a black woman. I didn't want her to be the first black. I don't want her to be a vice president or president because she's black. I didn't really care to vote for Barack Obama because he was a black man. I'm glad we finally got one, but I didn't vote for him twice. I didn't vote for him because I'm not about voting for a man because of his skin color. You just as bad as these white folks who won't give you a chance because of your skin color. So you just as bad at putting somebody not qualified up there because they got dark skin. You just as bad. So then that person that got a dark skin, you make them over you, either a CEO or your boss or your pastor or the president or Congress or mayor or governor, and then they take that whole system and they have no experience. I'm sorry. Y'all got Donald Trump. They put him up there because he was talking like them. That man is so liberal. He got liberal coming out of his ears. That man is straight Democratic. But he said out of his own mouth that Republicans, especially white Republicans, are so dumb. I'll say anything and they'll follow me. And he did that and they followed him and voted that man in office. And they gave their life for this man. Woo, man, that can make you, that can upset you. They gave their lives for this man.
President Trump, if you see this, please save us. I don't even see our American flag anymore. Biden's talking with some kind of crazy flag. This is America. This is our land. Please.
I'm sorry, y'all. I had to play that. I'm sorry. I don't know why I should be laughing at that. That's some type of mental illness right there. Amber says affirmative action by Austin sued by group claiming white students unfairly. Yeah. There you go. Affirmative action. Food stamps, Section 8, welfare checks, millions of whites benefit. Come on, Harvest, you've been going hardcore lately. You've been killing them, stepping on their necks, and picking them up and shooting them in the foot. Harvest been going strong. And it's only used to further the argument against us. Yep, when you hire black people who are not spiritual jobber, you and Harvest need to take this on the road. Yeah, somebody gave me the name. Lisa Akins. Yes. Abigail Fisher. Amber gave us the website, texastribune.org. Yeah. It's funny because Republican. Oh, did I read that? Talks about handouts, but when it, yeah, Faith Cannon. Yeah, that's it. Not a one approved the stimulus package of $1,400 plus all this other stuff that came in the bill. Not a one. But guess who got the $1,400? Y'all hear what I'm saying? All those senators says we are not going to sign this bill that will give our constituents $1,400 apiece, plus all these other things that my constituents need. Nope, we ain't signing it. The bill goes through without not one Republican. It goes through, thanks to Atlanta. And guess who benefited from those checks? Did the Republican senators give those checks back? Tell the families, listen, y'all, when the checks come to your door, reject it. Tell the mail, put on the envelope, return to sender. Don't cash that check. And if it hits your bank account, tell the banks reject it. Send it back. Nope. Their constituents said, thank you, Biden. We hate you, but thank you. That Capitol police officer who got pulverized by these so-called patriots, he almost lost his life. They interviewed him afterwards because some of the patriots were helping him off the ground. They were protecting him from being beat to death. And he said, thank you, but why the hell were you there? He said another word I can't say because I'm still paper Bible saved. Do an Elvis impression. What? I do think that in order to have equity, I don't know why I'm saying equality, we should give opportunity to minor groups that wouldn't otherwise be a shot because we know, yes, I agree with that. But you can't put it in a whole system like that because it would take more work for the government to try and help. For instance, and when the stimulus package, remember, of last year came, and the United States Treasury writes a check to the local banks, Chase, JP Morgan, TCB, all the banks in your communities, all right? They write the checks to the banks, and then they leave it up to the banks to determine who's going to get these checks in the neighborhoods. And guess what the banks were doing? They were writing checks and giving these millions of dollars of stimulus monies to Ruth Chris, these large corporations, all right, who eventually had to give that money back because the banks had a implicit bias mentality that we know we got some poor people in these communities, but let's give it to the big guys first. And if there's money left, we'll sprinkle it to some of these mom and pop stores. And a lot of the mom and pop stores never got their money. You can't roll out a system like that. Affirmative action was a broken system because it was benefiting the wrong people. So you got to be more strategic with it. Yeah, the real small businesses didn't get the money. And then what happened? Your girlfriend who do hair in the basement was after that PPP loan, making up some business. She on Section 8 in public aid, and she making up some corporation, and the government gives her a PPP loan of $10,000 and more. Remember that? Last year, the IRS started knocking because tax time came, and how are you filing for these employees you have? How are you filing? What? Okay. Well, show me the employees. Show me the state filings. Show me the federal filings. Show me this. They ain't got it. What happened then? These girls started losing their Section 8s and their link cards and still had to pay that money back. The system is broke, y'all. Some of y'all broke did it. The state of VA will be raising minimum wage starting Saturday. Wow. All right, y'all. Midday Connection wasn't supposed to go that long, but y'all kept talking. I wish y'all stopped talking. I wouldn't be going long if y'all would stop talking, because every time y'all talk, I have to read your comments. It's in my contract. Y'all ain't. Let me read the contract. Hold on. Hear ye. The first party of the second party, the third party says, Sirwalterj Jones must read all comments unless, hold on, there's two sides to the contract. Unless it's from some troll on YouTube by the name of, or the name has been redacted for safety. I can't read their names. It's in my contract, so I must read it. Oh, thank you. Cortez said, poor barber. I gotta go, y'all. I gotta get this haircut. We can talk examples, but let's include statistics. Oh, all right. Well, Wendell Washington. You know, I kind of like you. I do. And now Nene got a GoFundMe to keep her out of jail and trying to get an EB. Why she got to be Nene? It seems every time the system works for black people, they change the rules. Ooh, Harvest. I'm going to need you to shut your YouTube down. Shut it down. You've done enough damage this week. Hush yourselves. Senator Warnock added policies to the COVID relief bill to ensure black farmers. Yes. I'm for that. Yes. Brentic, I come from a southern family. My family were farmers. I totally agree. Down in Jackson, Mississippi, Canton, Mississippi. Oh yeah, trust me. I agree with you on that. If you would do this more often, yeah, you're right. All right, Harvest, see you Sunday. You mean Saturday night at 9 o'clock. Tomorrow night. Stop playing with me, Harvest. Stop playing. David Weaver, blessings to you, sir. I appreciate you, man. David Weaver been with me not that long, but since he's been with me, he's been proven to be a good friend. Good friend. I believe the Spirit of the Lord is upon that man. He may not always agree with me, but he's still here. God bless you, sir, and your whole family. Because they are always Nene. All right, y'all. See you tomorrow. Yeah, Sunday school is marching on. All right, see y'all later. Peace. Say bye, Gracie. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Well, goodbye. 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 Enjoy yourself. Goodbye. 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 Bye. Well, goodbye. 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 Goodbye.
Fellas, does it seem like you can't get a good woman? Ladies, wonder why you can't keep a man? Then read The 4 Women That Men Desire, Volume 1, by Sirwalterj to figure out how to break the cycle. Go to Amazon.com to get your copy today.